Hey guys, should you go to bootcamp in 2019? And what are my thoughts on education? Well, I'm going to tell you that depending where you are and your age, if you're in, let's say, just graduating high school, or you're in your early 20s or even late 20s, I would probably recommend going to college if you've never done so. Now, if you already graduated and you have a bachelor's degree and stuff like that, then okay, maybe going back and taking on more debt is not smart for you. And by the way, if I would recommend going back to college, I would only recommend going to like a state school, something that is not gonna put you into serious debt unless you got like a nice ride, and you got accepted to a really good school with great scholarship. But besides that, should you go to boot camp in 2019? Well, that brings me to my second point here is how much debt are you willing to take and what is your reason for going to boot camp? Now, for instance, I would recommend just studying on your own, building a bunch of projects and seeing if you could get a job based on your portfolio that you have. And if you can't and you feel like you need that extra confidence, maybe I would recommend going to boot camp. So I actually recently just moved to Austin, Texas, and my goal was to go to one of the boot camps down here. And I decided not to because most of the boot camps, they're over 10 grand. That's a lot of money. Like I could use that 10 grand and just, stay home and study, and because ultimately going to a boot camp is like, how much guarantee does it give me to get a job? I don't know. Every video I watch, people talking about boot camps, they always talk about how it takes them a long time to get their first job. It only common 3 to 4 months. So I was thinking maybe the reason, they were getting a job, not the fact that they finished boot camp, but because they've been searching for a job for past 3-4 months, relentlessly applying, just the law of numbers, you're going to get something. So I decided not to go to boot camp, and I decided just to continue to study on my own. I did get a first job, which is 100% remote. I will talk more about it. It's not in what I wanted. I wanted to be like a front-end JavaScript React developer, which is fine, but I got a job working as a WordPress developer, and requires knowing a little bit of PHP, HTML and CSS. And what's crazy about that job is that I'm not really doing too much of, coding from scratch. There's very few clients that need custom WordPress, code, adjusted in the theme files or like whatever, themes built from scratch. A lot of people have existing themes and they just want to, make them look a certain way or add one functionality, which a lot of that already exists if you look at different plugins that WordPress has. And it's very easy, and it's a job that I have, you know what I mean? And people are like, oh, that's not a real programmer. I would argue that, because to be able to, manage WordPress, you still need to learn some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The good news is you don't have to be, and PHP, of course, you don't have to be that good to get started. And ultimately, it's my first job. I still, practice every day coding in JavaScript. I constantly work on React JS projects, and one day that's what I'm going to do. But the only reason I told you that is because your first goal is to get any entry-level job which will allow you to build your experience from which you could kind of hop on to next opportunity. So since I already got my job without going to boot camp, I really couldn't make the argument for boot camp because I'm already working and I could study on my own at home. And so now that I'm in Texas, the only one thing that I set as my goal is, instead of going to boot camp, like I mentioned 1,000 times in this video, I made my goal to actually go to meetups and meet people, make connections. Because the way I got my first job, and sorry, I know I was going to tell you about boot camps, but this is related to the story, is not because I was some excellent developer. The reason I got my first job is because when I would talk to people, I would tell them, yes, my name is Paul and I do web design or web development. And basically everybody knew that that's what I was doing. And I was honest with people. I'm like, yeah, I'm still studying, but if you need help, I'm more willing to help you. And after talking to like hundreds and hundreds of people, this woman, Jess, she's like, hey, Paul, like I remember you told me you were into web development. How do you like to work for my marketing company? I was like, great, thank you, that's awesome. So the point here is that I feel studying on your own and making these connections with people that could either have power of hiring you or have ability to refer you to somebody else who could hire you is more valuable than actually going to boot camp. I know that maybe sounds crazy, and you could tell me in the comments how you guys feel about it, but I feel that is the case. I feel that is the fact. So the final thing that I was going to actually do is, like, when I got to Texas, like, okay, I tried 3 to 6 months to get a job. I couldn't find something. Maybe I should go back to boot camp. But I can't justify the $10,000 of debt. If you're not debt free, you should strive to be debt free, because it makes your life much easier, because you do not have all these different things hanging over your shoulders constantly crushing you and bringing you down. You know what I mean? Like, I was able to move to Texas because I didn't have debt. I was able to kind of not worry too much about, okay, what if I can't get a job right away? It's not a problem. And I think more importantly than going to boot camp is actually positioning yourself in a way that allows you to do the things that you want without too much pressure. So if you have debt already and you want to take on more debt to go to boot camp, don't do it. What you need to do instead is basically study on your own, go to free bootcamp website. I'll make a video about that. It's a great resource. I use them not as much as I should, because I learned from other places, but whatever, it's a good website. And study on your own and don't go into debt. Also, boot camps, they have this thing where it's like you don't have to pay anything now, and only when you get hired you get to pay like 17% or 15% of your income for 2 or 3 years. Now that 17-15% income doesn't sound much, but let me tell you, once you finish that boot camp and you get that job, and all of a sudden you get your paycheck, which you're probably not going to be making a lot of money, all of a sudden you have 15% that's going out of your paycheck for next 2-3 years, and you kind of tie down to that. That's scary too. I wouldn't recommend doing that either. So basically, should you go into boot camp in 2019? The answer is no, because first try to study on your own. And this is just my opinion. Tell me in the comments below if you think I'm totally out of my mind here. But I would say self-study, because going into that for any reason is not smart. And if you are willing to spend some money, take some online classes. Or why don't you go to your local community college where you can spend less money and basically take programming classes as well. So that's my recommendation for you. I hope you guys found some value here. In the meantime, keep on coding, keep on building, because honestly, the most important thing you could do, number one, is improve your web development abilities, improve your coding, improve your programming. And second is become the person that goes out there and finds others that have the ability to hire you. And that means going to meetups, making connections, talking to everybody about what you're doing. I think being able to market yourself will go farther than being able to just spend some money on code camp, right? So like I did, look at me, I started a YouTube channel. Do I have a lot of followers? No. But this allows me to stay motivated and start to build authority little by little over time of being a web developer on YouTube who's giving advice, who's doing coaching, who's doing coding, right? And so a lot of people could laugh at this and be like, oh, look at this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You know what, who cares? The point is that eventually, if I keep doing this, which I am, I'm gonna get better. Like when I first started to program, I had no idea for the first 2 years what I was doing. I used to have a friend, he still helps me. And the joke now is I talk to him, I'm like, remember that time you were helping me to code? And I was staring at the screen and then you asked me a question. I was like, yeah, I know the answer. I didn't know the answer. I couldn't understand anything. And so it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes perseverance. Keep at it. Should you go to boot camp? My short answer is no. There might be some situations where it makes sense, like if somebody else is going to pay for it, do it. Honestly, if someone will tell me, like, listen, I'm going to give you $15,000, go to boot camp, I would take that $15,000, go to Thailand, live like dirt cheap, and study for like a year while building projects of my own. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Share, like, subscribe. If you hated this video, let me know why so I could make it better. Like, listen, a lot of these people, like, actually, I want to say that I don't receive a lot of hate because maybe I only have like 26 subscribers. But the point is, like, people hate on videos, but they don't tell you why they hate it. So how's the person supposed to fix? It's like, I hate you. Why? And they don't really give you anything. And you're like, well, maybe I could change something. That, you know, constructive criticism is always appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.